Hey, all you Arizona lovers. This is the Finding Arizona podcast, episode number 363. I'm your host, Jose. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Today's guest is Emilah, who is a coach who helps you find your purpose and listen to that intuition inside you and just helps you move forward with that intuition. So it was a wonderful conversation to have with her, and she's a fantastic person. She's very sweet, very nice, and we always stay connected with our guests by giving them a bio down below so that you guys can connect with them, as well as if you want to go ahead and sign up for kind of a 30-minute consultation with her. We will actually be helping you by providing a code for you to have at the end of our podcast, so that if you go towards the end and look at those final little bits, you will see the code there that you can sign up with her and actually go ahead and get a discount with her. So that is for you and for our guests who listen to the podcast to enjoy and have. That being said, we'll move into a little bit of our business side. You can hear every episode of Finding Arizona Podcast at findingarizonapodcast.com. We make it easy for you guys to connect with us through social media. That's all under Finding Arizona Podcast. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all Finding Arizona Podcast. Next up, if you want to send us an email and just kind of connect with us on a one-to-one scale, that is findingarizonapodcast@gmail.com. That is going to be the little bit of a business end and a little bit of the personal end. Atlas is growing up so fast. We went over to the Children's Museum with my mom. We have been doing a lot of swimming lessons because there's summertime coming, and that's safety as well. On top of which, the kids just getting taller, getting smarter, talking a lot more. That is just a fun thing for you guys to be updated about what's going on in our personal life. There's also some new stuff coming down the road for the podcast. We have now hopefully a new lawyer, some things that are going to be being installed for the podcast as far as our production. That is just a lot of great things coming down the road. So keep up with us at Finding Arizona Podcast. That being said, let's just jump into the episode number 362 with Emilah. We will catch you on the next one. And as always, kisses, hugs, and belly rubs. Welcome back, everybody, to the Finding Arizona Podcast. I'm your host, Jose. As always, we bring in fantastic guests every week, and today is no different. I'm going to let Emilah here to allow us to understand her business. You're going to tell us what it's about and what we're going to be talking about today.
Sounds great. Hi. I'm so glad to be on the podcast, Jose. You interview so many fantastic businesses. I'm glad to be a part of them. I'm an intuitive life coach. And awesome. The first question people say is, well, what's that? So I've been a coach most of my life before it was in vogue. Mm-hmm. So I have an ICF, International Coach Federation credential, and I'm a certified Sparketype advisor. Wow. And I've been a coach since 2010. Okay. And before that, I was in student life. So I was coaching in my career. But there was a point in time where I had an awakening and was able to do psychic or intuitive readings and do energy healing and talk to pets and trees and things like that. So all of those things come under intuitive life coach. So awesome. It's a real eclectic bag of things, but my foundation is as a coach, and all the other pieces support that.
Yes. And so from my understanding, there was a particular moment or a particular incident that came across your life that I know it can be hard to kind of remember those sort of powerful moments, but I'd love to just kind of take it back and kind of let us into the door a little bit and just kind of understand that moment as a whole.
Absolutely. I've been writing a memoir recently about this time, so I've gotten quite comfortable now speaking about that time in my life. It was in 2004. I was living here in Tucson, actually, where I am again now, although I wasn't there in between. And I was studying yoga. I was meditating a lot. I was really opening up some understanding of spiritual awakening and capacity. Yeah. And I was on my way home from work at the university and was in a car accident. So I was approaching an intersection, a van ran a red light, and my car flipped, spun on its head, slammed into a post. And I was just I kind of opened my eyes and I was hanging by my seatbelt.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, huh, okay. I mean, I saw the van coming. It was like a moment of terror, really, coming into because I knew I couldn't avoid him. I was at a point where I couldn't avoid him. So my brain was shaken and stirred, and not a bone in my body was broken.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a scratch on me,
Mm-hmm.
but I was definitely shaken, and from that experience, I had really what you would call a spiritual awakening or a psychic opening. And that is actually not uncommon for people when they have a head injury.
Mm-hmm.
I've found over the years. Um, and I started living out of my right brain, which is a very soft and flowy place, right? I would be sitting in my living room and see, my orientation was from yoga and Vedanta. So I would see ascended masters or gurus or, Mother Mira or people I had been studying in my living room, have conversations with them. I could talk with my pets. I could have a conversation with a tree, and that was connected with intense migraines and a lot of physical pain from the way my body was moved around. And so it was a very, very traumatic time. It was a physically traumatic time. It was an emotionally traumatic time.
Mm-hmm.
Like most people with head injuries, my emotions were all over the map. But there was this gift that stayed through the healing process, right? And I worked with a mentor to cultivate how to integrate having these capacities in my day-to-day life.
Yeah.
And that's really been my journey since 2004. It's been almost 20 years.
Wow. Incredible. I mean, again, it's not a like a happy-go-lucky story, as they say, and it's just one of those instances where, again, so I've started this in 2015, the podcast, and my overall goal was to just, again, pick out, like, find the diamonds in the rough, so to speak, and just really understand, again, where the joy, where the passion, where all of this comes from. And sometimes it's not pretty, it's not beautiful, it's not anything other than a pain or tragedy or something that is negative for the moment. And It is up to the individual to find the beauty or the silver lining, as they say, too, in that tragedy or bad times. And I love that, because for me, again, it's like I could look at all of my life, instances and just like, oh, woe is me, this is horrible, but because of said, conversations, I've found myself, really saying to myself is like, it could be worse, it could be worse, or it could be this or that, or it's like, and I find myself pulling out of those moments of tragedy or pain to find myself, okay, I've heard the worst, almost the worst of the worst. I've kind of had these conversations with these individuals, these professionals who've shown me guiding ways to really pull myself out of tragedy or pull myself out of negative moments. And I am very thankful, and my transformation, again, is allowing myself to listen, to really understand and empathize with those who come in through our doors and our podcasts, and just allow myself to really marinate in the conversation and in the moment. Because for me, it brings value to my life, and it brings value to I hope to their lives as well, to share their catharsis moment. Like, it's just one of those things. It's like therapy almost, in a sense. And
absolutely. I mean, we all have moments in our lives that are dark. We have the dark night of the soul. Some of them are more impactful, literally, like mine. Some of them are emotional in their origin. Some of them are, you might say, done to us, right? Because somebody leaves our life, or where we lose a job, or lose a child. We all have moments that kind of bring us to our knees in some way. And what I love about your podcast and your orientation to these events is that you're looking to find the through line.
Yeah.
Right? How did it fit in what was happening before, and how does it fit in what happens after? And where are my choice points?
Exactly.
Right? We all have a choice. I mean, I'm sure other people who have been hit by a car, had a head injury, started seeing weird things happening around them, shut it down. Right? They would be scared.
Fearful.
It's a scary thing if you don't have a context to put it into. And I had a context, because these kinds of things happen within the yoga and Vedic community when you're meditating, when you're intentionally building a spiritual practice. So I think your point is, like, we can learn from other people's stories. I can learn from your story. And I was listening to one of the stories, the podcast earlier, Vanessa Torre, that you interviewed. We do very similar work. She had a very similar midlife awakening in terms of saying, something in my life has to change, and I'm going to change it now.
Exactly. And so what a wonderful connection that you have there too. It's like, I'm so happy that you found someone else along our podcast to empathize and to connect with. And so you did touch upon this kind of moment in your life where you're interpreting. I'd love to understand that a little bit more, and your coach and your help there too as well. I mean, let's just take it back, as you're seeing these things and experiencing these things. I mean, it could have gone the other way where you're so fearful of it. What in that moment made you, like you said, you probably were practicing meditation and kind of already opening the door, so to speak. But what made you open it even further, or want to open it even further?
Yeah. So for context, before that car accident happened, I had spent a summer at an ashram, which is a spiritual community out in New York.
Nice.
So I had been meditating there. I had very intense spiritual and psychic experiences in that space. So even though they were scary, I was surrounded by a community who helped me interpret them.
Got it.
Right. And so I had kind of acclimated, you might say, to these kind of experiences where you're able to know or sense or communicate in ways that are not in our ordinary reality, you might say.
Yes.
So when that started happening after the car accident, I reached out to, I guess I would say she was an acquaintance at the time, who I knew was doing intuitive readings, that she had been doing healing and intuitive readings for years, probably 20 years by then. And I asked her for some help, because I noticed that the allopathic route of medicine wasn't really helping. They could stop the pain, they could help me with the migraines, but they couldn't help me make sense of and integrate the unseen world and those kinds of experiences I had. So her name she still is alive, Deborah Saunders. She used to live in Bisbee, but now she is in Indiana.
Okay.
And she had been doing this work for a very long time. And she helped me integrate it with energy healing. She was a Reiki master.
Nice.
And flower essences and herbal remedies. Flower essences are an energetic form of healing, similar to homeopathy for people who understand homeopathy. So it's taking the essence of the flower, putting it in water, and then taking it. Because the lessons of the flower or the plant are embedded in the water, and our systems are able to say, oh yeah, okay, I want to be like that. Let's go there.
Yeah.
It works on our electrical system.
Nice.
So I worked with her for many years, actually. But the first four were the most influential because she was able to see what was happening in my brain and the gift of the shaking of the brain. One day she described it as, or her guides showed her this picture of like an electrical panel that had been shaken and all the wires fell out. And they had to kind of be put back together. But when they got put back together, they got put back in a different way that was more stable, but also flexible.
Yes.
So it was a way to, my interpretation of that was a way to break apart ways I had been in the world that were not so healthy, right? I had addictive tendencies. I had codependent tendencies. I had been working on those in 12-step. So she was able to give me some metaphors and some understanding of what was happening and to coach me through that process, to be patient, to help, to rest, to let my head injury heal, and then to understand what I was seeing and how to turn it on and off.
Got it.
What had been happening was I had no way of turning it off.
Yeah.
I would be in the grocery store and I would just hear, touch the woman in front of you. And I was like, what? Okay. And, but if I did just kind of like lean into her and say, hi, how are you today? And touch her, I could feel a flow of energy come through.
Wow.
But it felt intrusive to me, right? She's not asking me to support her. I'm just getting the sense to do it. So Deborah helped me understand how to turn that on and off, how to ask for permission to make sure that the people I was reading about or listening to or healing wanted that. And it was not me intruding on their lives uninvited.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: as you progress along in your training, and as you've picked up the skill set to turn it on and off, where does allowing your this new training to become more of a place where you can help others? And what was those first couple of clients like? What told you I need to help others or I need to start this particular business to, again, help others?
Yeah. So in 2005, I left Tucson and I moved to Albuquerque to study at the Ayurvedic Institute there. And when I moved, I changed my name. My name had been Dawn DeToro, and I changed it to Emilah because that was a name we heard come through.
Yes.
And when I was interacting with my new classmates at the Ayurvedic Institute, they understood some of what was happening in terms of energy work and intuitive readings. And they started wanting me to work with them, on them energetically. And that's how I initially opened my practice. I was doing only intuitive readings and energy healing, and I was creating flower essence mixtures for people.
Yeah.
And I did that for several years, holding part-time jobs. And then I had a really incredible experience with a healer in Santa Fe, Lee Cartwright, who is actually no longer with us, but he was able to do some energetic healing in my brain so that I was less right-brained and more integrated.
Okay.
I actually remember being in his office and feeling the two sides of my brain coming back together. Like it was like a rush of energy.
Wow. That's so incredible for that moment.
Yeah. It was like, wow, oh my God, I think I might be able to do math again. I might actually be able to function like in this world in ways that I had before as an administrator. And so after that experience, I went back and received a coaching credential. I went to a coaching program in New York. I really understood that I had gifts from the coaching world that I had been using as a student services administrator. I was a natural counselor and coach. And just doing readings and just doing energy healing wasn't quite enough for me once I was kind of back in both sides of the brain. I was like, I don't really want to save people by doing energy healing and intuitive readings. I want to support their transformation.
Absolutely.
And I want them to feel empowered, to keep their power, to be empowered to make the changes on their own, not rely on information that comes through me exclusively. Right.
Got it. Yeah.
So I went back for a coaching program and I graduated from that program in 2010. And then I integrated all of the work. So I called it intuitive life coaching. I still call it intuitive life and career coaching now. And clients have a choice of what modalities they want to use, right? I see some clients that I never do any intuitive work or energy healing with, because that what they're wanting is coaching around a job change or around a relationship change. And some people I hardly ever do coaching with. I do all energy healing or intuitive readings because they come from an orientation when they find me that this is their modality, this is their healing. And I call it energy body alignment. That's what I've been guided to call it over the years. So I work with a lot of highly sensitive people, empaths, introverts, folks that are really sensitive or who have had some kind of spiritual awakening or discovered these gifts. And people who are mediums and they don't know how they're mediums, but suddenly they know. So I work with a lot of people coming to make sense of these gifts that until recently weren't really talked about publicly. Right?
Absolutely. And
that's kind of the evolution of the practice, you know. And I did spend a little bit of time working at a college when I was in Santa Fe. I was their director of student services at Southwestern College, and I really adored that. And then when COVID came, I just got the sense, it was time to go back to my private practice again.
Wow. And I'm so amazed sometimes that like what we're talking about too is almost kind of like there's a big percentage or population of individuals who don't know that side of their brain or that side of themselves, whatever that, it's just, we've started to slowly, I've started to see it from my perspective as far as meeting individuals and hearing different stories, and an open dialogue starting to form from, interpretations of, what's happened in their life or whatever it may be. I've slowly started to open the doors even more for us here at the podcast, because again, my whole experience in life has always been to, open ears and open heart. And that's something that I learned from my grandfather, who was an elder in our tribe. And he held a lot of stories, and some of these stories do involve spirits, do involve, some might say unordinary experiences. And so for me, I don't allow myself to just shut the door on these cosmic or whatever it may be feelings, because again, you don't know what you don't know. And so to me, I love having these open dialogues because it allows individuals who need or who want to open their heart to that. And so, far be it from me to, shut that door and that experience, because my wife, I always felt like she has something more to give, something very deep rooted in her, that she's, just very like intuitive, very much, something about her just allows her to, really interpret the world in her emotions. And so she can feel a lot of things, and she can feel almost like, she does it a lot with me. And it's just really kind of like, how did you know? Or how did
like she's empathic.
Yeah, right? She's very empathic. She's
able to sense what's happening with other people and their emotional state. And like you pointed to, Indigenous people around the globe have been working with these states for thousands of years.
Yeah.
Right. This is not, it's new in some ways to the Western white mind, but it is not new to indigenous cultures
Exactly.
in any way.
Exactly.
And, it's kind of been marginalized in the Western white world. And so we haven't really talked about it, right? But it's been happening. That's why people were so enamored with the spiritualist movement in the 1800s.
That's what I was just about to bring up. You read, like, again, you're reading me. And so that I'm a very big historic buff. And so one of the things that I've kind of come across too is just that 1800s where it was such a open dialogue, like they were free flowing almost. They had seances, other just in homes, and just allowing these communities to. It was such a popular thing back then.
It was a very fertile time.
Yes.
Not only for the spiritualist movement, but also for some charlatans to come in.
Yes. Yes.
And I actually was listening to a podcast about a year and a half ago, maybe, from an astrologer, Chani Nicholas, who said that the planetary alignments at that time were exactly the same as the spiritualist movement.
Huh.
And she thought we could expect to see a rise in metaphysics, the unknown, the occult, people wanting to learn about this, but not give their power away. Right. As I think happened more in the 1800s. And I think it's an exciting time because people learn other dimensions of themselves. Like we're not really talking about something outside of ourselves. We're talking about ourselves, our divinity, something to which we are all connected to that's larger than us. Or private. And we're not special, right? Like I'm not special because I can do these things. You can learn how to do these things. You have gifts of your own. And I think that's true, obviously, of your wife and of almost every client I've worked with. We can all do some or have some gift, whether we are in touch with it or not. And we can choose to develop it or not develop it. And sometimes it's chosen for us, like it was for me.
Exactly. And that's really great. I mean, how, like for me in particular, I think my power is just, again, to be an open, a conduit for these individuals to share and be heard, because that's just something that I love. I get my energy from your energy. Like I get to experience how much you love what you do and how much these individuals love what they do, and my excitement, my joy is pulling it out of them, because sometimes it does take a little bit, the right question or the right amount of time you have a dialogue to actually get their enthusiasm up to the level where it's like, oh yeah, I love, this is what keeps me going, this is what I enjoy most, and that to me fulfills it fills up my cup, and it fills me up to a point of like, yes, I'm excited about life, I'm excited about my family and all of these other things around me. So again, I think that somewhere in our conversation, it's like, that is my power, that is where I can feel this podcast really does bring a lot to me and to my family. And so I can't wait to I would love to share Brittany, and tell her to come and talk to you at least once, because I think that she would get a joy out of it. Because again, I think for her, she's just looking for someone to, I guess, because I can't interpret as much as you probably could, the things around her, the things that are going on in her own mind and her own kind of perspective. So I think having someone she can relate to would be really great and fantastic for her.
Yeah. In fact, I offer for anybody who's interested in working with me or exploring working with me, I offer a 30-minute exploratory session.
Oh, nice.
You can sign up on my website. So I think it's important that there's a fit between the people that I'm working with and me. And I found that spending 30 minutes together helps us to really know what aspects of the work that I do would be useful for somebody.
Yeah.
And is that a longer term package? I have a like a longer term coaching package that I work with people, or I have one-off sessions, or I have drop-in readings, so many options. And it's helpful for us to get a sense of, oh, does this work? Is there a flow? Is there a relationship here? So those exploratory sessions are really important because it helps us know, we've got something here. And it may be short-term now, it may be long-term now, maybe long-term later. It may be just a touch point.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Maybe that was enough.
Yeah.
And we get to decide what the relationship is like, particularly the people coming to me. I don't really get to decide for them, but we can decide if we're a fit, right? And then can decide.
I really do love that. I mean, you have this a way of, or this, like, it's something that I've always wanted to provide too. It's like this, open kind of format where it's just like, you can give me 30 minutes or you can give me more long term. And so being a podcaster, it's like, I love rehashing or talking about the business again, but it's like, I love going back to the episodes and like people who have been evolving and things like that, where it's like, oh yeah, you want to come back on the show? Come back on the show. Tell me what has happened since the last time we've talked. And that is kind of my thing of like, the story never ends. It is a different chapter. And so that is just something that I want to keep continuing to do and provide for the people who come on our show is, I'm always here. I'm always an open ear. So please come back if you ever want to come back.
Uh-huh. Yeah. You hold that space for people to be themselves, right?
Yeah.
You're changed by that, and your listeners are changed by that. And that's like you said earlier, that's your gift, right?
Thank you.
To have that open-hearted space and curiosity. I mean, that's what I hear from you, really, is a huge amount of curiosity.
Yeah.
How does it work? How do we get to where we are?
Exactly. And
how
it's
do we
just
touch each other? How do we change each other?
Yeah. I think it's beautiful to want to ask those questions because, I mean, I feel like a lot of people lose that in their when moving into adulthood or moving away from childhood, that curiosity, the joy of that curiosity. You think you know everything, but no, we're still learning, we're still questioning, and it's not you shouldn't be fearful of asking why or how or what. I think it's important because it is something that it just allows for more dialogue. It just allows for more storytelling because that is the greatest gift that all of us can have, is bring something to the table, like a story or something that they acknowledge, a gift.
Yeah, it's the connection, right? It's the connection between each of us that really brings us alive. I think that's what I hear in what you're saying. It's our connections, it's our shared understanding or our shared learning.
Absolutely. I'd love to just bring it back because we are fighting it. Yeah, we are just kind of I'm so happy that you allow me to go off on these tangents, but I'd love to just bring it back again to Arizona in particular, and just kind of what is one of the lessons besides the accidents like that you've learned from this community or learned from just being here and involved in this, having people come from you from here?
Yeah. When I moved to Arizona in 98, I never wanted to leave. Like, this was my home. I grew up in New England. I moved to Tucson and I was like, wow, this is my place.
Awesome.
And then, life took me on a 17-year journey into New Mexico, and I lived in Albuquerque and Santa Fe. And I spent a couple of winters down here during the pandemic, and I went home and I said to my husband, okay, I'm ready to go back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is my place. I'm ready to go back to the Sonoran Desert. And I think that's one of the things that Arizona has taught me, is to know home.
Yeah.
Know where my place is on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
And this is it for me. I wake up every day and I look out at the Sonoran Desert and I drive through town, or I walk I'm right by the Tanque Verde Wash. I walk there and I'm like, wow, this is such an amazing, diverse, beautiful place. And look at how all of these plants and animals and trees and lizards, they all find a way to live together.
Yeah.
They're symbiotic. They need each other. Absolutely. And I think that's true of us as humans too. We need each other. We need nature, we need animals, right? We are working this and living on this planet together.
I
So
love
I
that.
think for me, that's been a huge gift that Arizona gave me. The diversity, the understanding of how the diversity of nature transfers or translates or mirrors
Hmm.
diversity within our human species and how we can co-create and live together, right, in
Yeah,
peace and in abundance. It's a kind of an interesting uh, it's a very spacious and visionary experience I have when I'm here in Arizona. Like
absolutely.
I just can't get enough of it. I'm like ready to start traveling again. Okay, now let's get back out around the state, which I traveled a lot when I
Yeah.
was here before. Um, so that's one of the things I think Arizona is all about. I mean, when I was here before, I was very deep into 12-step communities, and the emotional and psychological healing that came through that
Mm.
just was transformative. It changed my life. And this time I'm really loving the Unity Church in Tucson. I spend a lot of time there. They have a lot of the Unity beliefs are about non-dual, like we talked about
Yeah.
before, like indigenous beliefs, that we
Yeah.
are a part of a larger energy. You could call it God, you could call it Great Spirit, you could call it all kinds of things, but
Yeah.
we're a part of it. And that non-dual experience for me is super important. So that's my current community, but I've only been back since August. So we haven't even been back a year.
Wow.
So I'm excited to kind of uh, just continue the reconnection to Arizona and her people and places, and also build my practice here.
Yeah.
Build my business here. Right now, I work virtually,
Hmm.
but I hope within the next year to have an office and be able to
Awesome.
see people in person again.
Yes. I'm
Don't
very excited for you. I have high hopes and I know you'll be fine. Um, that's one of the things that again I like to ask because it's like again, I call this home. This is my community and I in particular where I grew up on the reservation is where I call home, and that's I will always call it that because I
have.
in my heart of hearts, it's where my people are, where my grandmother lives, where my grandfather's buried, and I just have some kind of connection. I wasn't born there. I wasn't, I didn't live there when I was a young child, but when I moved back to there, it just again, it's like one of those things where it just it snaps on and you're just connected to it. And that's something that I will never let go of because I've learned so much there. I've learned, um, you know, basically how to become I was through adolescence and into, almost adulthood. It's just one of those places when I go back, it is just a different experience. I'm a kind of a different person when I'm out there. And I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And so for me, it's like, it's my oasis. Like I like to go back there when I truly need it, but it's just again, it's one of those places where it's never going to not be home. And so this whole state in particular too, it's like I've learned that I there's not a place where I can't go and feel some kind of connection to it. And I just, again, like you said, finding your spot where you know that you belong and you can feel it, it's just incredible. And I feel that every day that I'm here, and I'm very thankful that I found it. And so that is, I consider myself just, again, one of those cheerleaders that like, I love where I live. I'm going to continue to root for everyone who's supporting it. And that is just the person that I am. And again, it's like it's really incredible too because you can go different spots and experience different things, and it's just so amazing this state and what it has to offer. So when I hear someone else say the exact same words, it means a lot to me, and it's really incredible that you're back and that you wanted to come back. So kudos to you. I have high hopes. Again, you'll find a brick and mortar spot, an office to call yours, and I always ask, we're kind of reaching towards the end here.
Mhm.
This last part is more of like a goal setting or something to put out into the universe, so that our listeners or someone who may find you later down the road, what are,
Mhm.
a goal, something that you would love to kind of share with us that you have for your business here or what for your coaching?
Mhm. Well, I think one of those is the brick and mortar
Hmm.
space. I
Yes.
think the other is serving more, I guess I would say, millennial or
Mhm.
I've
Yeah, of course.
tended to work with midlife women. I'm at midlife myself. I'll be 57 shortly. And I've tended to work with this group between in their 50s to
Hmm.
60s who are making big changes in their lives. And I'm finding I just adore working with younger folks, people in their 30s and 40s.
Yes.
So fun. It's just really fun for me and to be able to support their transition, transformation, them really coming earlier to their work in the world,
Hmm.
right? To their passions, like you
Yeah.
have, right? That wasn't as easy for me or my generation, right? Gen X, we have
Sure.
all kinds of things going on, but it wasn't follow your bliss. Right? It was work your butt off and do what you're supposed to do and follow the obligations that were laid out for you by your family. And I
Yeah.
think the younger generations um, were not raised that way,
Hmm.
right? You have a more of a sense of freedom and
Hmm.
possibility, even though there have been very difficult times,
Yes.
during times, like um, not to just smooth that over,
Yeah.
right? There is maybe even because of them
Hmm.
a passion to get to the point,
Yeah.
right? What am I here for? Like, I'm not going to wait until I'm 65 and I retire to
Yeah.
do something. And so for my business, I really love to work with folks that are younger as well as midlife people
Yeah.
because we're all looking for that place,
I love
that
that.
that thing to do that really juices us. So those are the things: a brick and mortar place to work out of,
Mhm.
hopefully that has a community of other people, similar healers and coaches, and
Yeah.
then to expand the practice. So I'm working also with a broader variety of people, male, female, um, LGBTQ, different races and cultures, because we're all working and connected to the same basic source.
Yeah. I love that. That's incredible. Like, thank you for sharing that because again, I think allowing yourselves to put it out into words and to give it kind of structure and just kind of write it down sort of thing.
Mhm.
It just means so much to me and to the others who are listening just because it's like, okay, this is what she put into the world. I'm one who's like, again, like I'm still finding things that I'm passionate about, but I'm also like at that point of like, okay, I'm honing in on that experience. I'm honing in on where I want to be. Sometimes I do feel like I do need a coach or I do need a mentor that, has the same not same experiences, but allow me to express myself and to give me guidance in that moment or give me guidance in that dark time. So I actually I like to say I call him a friend and kind of a mentor too as well, and he knows who he is, and I reach out to him when I can. Um, but again, it's like those are the types of things that yeah, I think the younger generation is becoming more open and attuned to. Like they can say to themselves, okay, I have something I want to get better at. I need someone else to help me out. I need help. And so I think that is something like you said, the the understanding of like my joy needs guidance is I
Mhm.
think it's probably one of the best things that like millennials have an understanding, slowly understanding too. So that's I think you'll
I
find
love
some
that. I haven't heard it in stated in
yeah.
that way. I love that.
Yeah,
My joy, getting to my joy.
yes.
Sometimes I need some guidance to get there. That's really beautiful.
Thank
Really
you. Hey, you can
beautiful.
have it, right? Right. You can. We'll have it recorded. And you can write it down and then have it for later. So, We are reaching our end here, and I'd love to just take a moment and allow you to let everyone know where they can find you online, and let everyone know where they can come to if they need you as their coach. So go right ahead. The floor is yours.
Absolutely. Well, you can find me at emilah.com, emilah.com. The beauty of having a unique name is that I could get my own URL. So I have 12 years of blogs on my website, from
Wow.
everything from personal growth and development and 12 step to really kind of out there working with guides and energy healing and coaching topics. They're all there. So you can find a lot of blogs there and information. You could also sign up for my mailing list
Hmm.
and get a handy little freebie on 5 steps to engaging your intuition to transform your life. The majority of my information goes out through that email list,
Okay.
because I'm slowly withdrawing from social media. Although
Yes.
right now I'm on social media. You can find me on Facebook, you can find me on Instagram and LinkedIn. Uh,
Awesome.
so that's Emilah Dawn DeToro
Awesome.
on any of those platforms. And I really love doing podcasts. So you can find me on podcasts. I have a page on my website. You can listen to some of the podcasts I've been on over the last
Yes.
2 years. And then my website also has my offerings,
Mhm.
how you can work with me, whether
Yeah.
it's intuitive reading, energy healing, or longer term coaching for your life or career changes. So
Awesome.
it's all in one place. The website is the hub, and you get to everything else from there. And I work, like I said, I work virtually at this point. So
Hmm.
I work with everybody on Zoom or by phone. And also I haven't talked about this, but I also work with healing with pets.
Oh,
I do energy healing and intuitive readings for pets, particularly animals with anxiety or beginning the transition to leave the planet. So
okay.
I love that. I've had a deep connection with animals for a long time.
Hmm.
And so I also do that work, which is a little bit, off to the side, you
Yeah.
might say, but it uses all the same skills,
I
you
love
know.
that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing because again, I think for me in particular, being an animal lover as much as I am, there are moments where again, it's like that transition period is so difficult, not only for the animal, but for the family as well. And so, you
Mhm.
know, like we've already made the promise to the animals here that they will be here in
Yeah.
this household or in the backyard, and so they will
Yeah.
always be a place for them here.
Mhm.
And this is our forever home. This is as my wife likes to call it, this is our forever home. And so
Uh-huh.
I think for us in particular, we're very like empathic to the animals' needs and to them being a part of our family, and so we want to keep
Mhm.
that kind of feelings towards them and our emotions towards them. So we love our animals. We we care for them,
And
and there are
more and
people.
more
Yeah, more
people
and more.
consider them part of the family, and
Hmm.
and they have experiences of life too, right?
Oh
They
my
want
gosh,
to
yeah.
they have their personalities, they have their experiences, and like you do, keeping them in the loop,
Yeah.
knowing they have a home forever, and then just helping them when it is time for their transition. Or
Mhm.
many animals that are adopted have a lot of anxiety, kind of working with that
Yeah.
separation anxiety or fear.
Oh man,
So,
it took a while for our dog, who's now I think she's 4, but no, she's like 5, sorry. And she was a rescue on the reservation, and
uh-huh.
so just as soon as we met, like me and her,
Mhm.
and again, she just started calming down. Like she was very shaky in the beginning, and very much like as soon as she was in this home, and we gave her, you know, ample room and opportunity to just feel calm, it
Mhm.
went now the shakes went away, and she's very she's very great with our son. And
Mhm.
so you brought up like having their own moments. My wife, she just came back from swim class. She follows
Uh-huh.
me out everywhere, and so
Uh-huh.
I've just basically we opened the door. She followed me, and I was picking up my son to like get him out of the car. Accidentally closed the door behind her, and we're like, "Where's?" Like it took us 10 minutes before she like barked at the door, and my wife. Like she was so like, that's my baby. Someone could have taken her. Oh my goodness. And it was a moment. And so it was just like, as soon as she came back in the door, she laid down. She was like, fine. She was just like, why did you guys close the door on me?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a moment. And so it's like, we love, she was just like, forget about it. But she was just like, let's bark. Let me in. And we like, oh, you're outside in the front, not in the backyard. So we had to open but it was, again, we have such that connection with our pets, and we just want to love them and care for them and make them feel like it's okay. Don't fear the world. This is your home here. So that's, again, for us, that's something that we love doing. So thank you again for sharing your side.
Thank you so much for having me. It was such a great conversation. I really enjoyed meeting you, and have really enjoyed your podcast, listening to other things and other people.
Thank you.
Going on around Arizona. It's nice to be back and hear what's happening here now.
Yeah, right? We're very excited to keep going. And again, I always say this on most of the pod. They're going to have to take this microphone and the record button away from me. And so I hope to continue this kind of journey of exploration and just kind of listening, and open heart, open ears, continuing that down the road for myself. So that being said, we do have an outro for us. You can hear every episode of our podcast at findingarizonapodcast.com. We make it easy for you guys to connect with us on social media under Finding Arizona Podcast. And last but not least, we always say kisses, hugs, and belly rubs to our four-legged friends, and we will see you next time. Bye, y'all.